In this week's video, I'm going to take a look at my top 5 security features that you need to know in order to secure your Microsoft 365 environment. And it will take you from zero to hero in no time. Stay tuned and you'll learn something. Hello everyone, Andy here. So nice to see you. Thanks so much for visiting my channel. I really do appreciate it. I'm here in Oslo this week teaching a cybersecurity class, and I thought, what a great opportunity to talk about my top 5 security features. These are simple settings in Microsoft 365 that can make such a difference to you and your environment. And it's all about keeping you and your users safe, of course. Now, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, then I'd love you to go ahead, click on that subscribe button and ring that bell and come and join my learning community. And of course, if you enjoy the video, a big thumbs up is always appreciated. Now, questions and comments about this or any of my other sessions, then of course, please just get those down below and I will do my best to respond to you. So I think without any further ado, let's jump in. Let's take a look at some of these really cool security settings. Enjoy. So here I am in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, and I'm going to create a group called HR. Now, I'm going to click on Next, and of course, what I'm not going to do, I'm not going to assign an owner. Now, you'll notice that in this portal, it actually forces me to assign an owner. But if I go back into Microsoft Entra, and here in Identity, if I come into Groups and All Groups, I'm going to come in here and assign or create a group. And again, I've got 2 choices. Do I want to create a security or a Microsoft 365 group? I'm going to create a group called Oslo HR. I'm going to scroll down and you can see it's saying, do you want it to be assigned, or do I want to assign by dynamic user, dynamic rules? But this time, I'm not going to assign an owner, and I'm just going to bring in some users. So here in the group, I'll bring in Adele, Alan, and let's say I'll bring in Bianca, just for fun. And I'm going to go ahead and create that group. Now, we have a little issue here because Microsoft 365 didn't allow me to create the group without putting an owner in, but here in Entra, it did. So if I go back to Microsoft 365, I'm gonna just cancel out of this and I'm just going to refresh my page. So of course, here we now have, if I scroll down, we've got Oslo HR, and of course, I've not converted it to become a Microsoft team, but there is no owner on this group. So one of the cool security features that we can now do is I'm going to scroll up, I'm going to go into my settings. So I'm going to go into the organization settings and I'm going to come into services. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to come here into Microsoft 365 groups. And this is a really useful feature. We have this new feature here, well, it's not new, it's been out a little while, called ownerless groups. And this is so cool. So I'm going to go into a configuration policy, and in here it says, okay, specify who can receive notifications, and you can choose only certain active members or block active members and so on. So you can basically say, okay, the number of active members only to notify for X amount of weeks. So I can say, okay, only for a week, let's say. So I'm going to click on next and I'm going to add in a sender. So I'm just sending it as myself at the moment. And as you can see, it says, hey, we need your help. But look at this. It's using this % group name. And the % group name will automatically pick up the name of the group. And you can see it says, hi, hey, display username. Now, you can use this, of course, in various emails, and it's like almost like a templating feature. And you get a little overview of that here. So I can put in the guidelines. So if you've got a guideline that you want to put in, I can do that. If you've got like a guideline URL, you can customize this. And now I can click on next. What groups do I want to target this to? So you can either do specific groups or all groups. I'll just go with all groups, but such a cool feature. So should you have the occurrence where any groups have been created without an owner, you can now enforce what we call an ownerless group policy. Isn't that cool? So in terms of security, this one is a definite must. Now I'm here in the Microsoft 365 Defender, and you can get that to that, of course, from Microsoft 365 by just simply clicking on the security menu here. So it can either be security.microsoft.com, and you can also get to it by defender.microsoft.com as well. And of course, there are a number of different plans, and you can see currently I'm working with an E5 subscription. So I pretty much get, well, pretty much most things here. However, if you've got a business premium and or E5 and so on, so you need a business premium for this, which is the minimum, what you can do is if you come down to email and collaboration, go into policies and rules, and essentially what we have here are all your, for example, threat policies, let's say. So within your threat policies, this is where you can configure things like anti-phishing, you've got things like you've got antivirus, anti-malware, the usual stuff, and you get all of this free with something called EOP, or Exchange Online Protection. But if you've got the E5 or Business Premium and above, you also get access to this and this. This is safe attachments and safe links. And I got to tell you, this will make you so much more secure, and your environment will be so much more secure. So I'm going to create a policy here. I'm going to create it for my Oslo HQ, and I'll just call this my Oslo HQ policy. And in here, I'm just going, oops, so it would help if I could spell it, of course. Let me just change this. So I'm going to create this Oslo HQ policy. I'll click on next, and it says, okay, what is this for? Is it for a group of users or groups or domains? So you could put in the entire organization if you want. For the purpose of this demo, I've created a group called Oslo. So I'm just going to use this for my Oslo HR group. And I'm going to click next. And you can see I now have a number of options. So what do I want to do? Do I want to switch this off? Do you want to just monitor it? Now, if you've got a cybersecurity team and you want to monitor, for example, malware, let's say ransomware and so on, you might actually have, let's say, a honeypot or a honeynet, and you want to monitor the attack for research reasons. You can block it. Or I like this one. This is called dynamic delivery, and this is where you can essentially preview the message. And what this does, it essentially delivers the message without the attachment. It runs the attachment in what we call a sandbox environment. So it detects the attachment, it detects if there's any executables, or if it's trying to make registry calls, or indeed if the attachment is trying to elevate its privileges in order to obviously take over your device. So you can choose this one. This is the one I normally use, and you can set up a quarantine policy. So for example, only admins can view the quarantine if you want to. So the other thing that you can also do is redirect messages with detected attachments. So I can click this and redirect that to somebody in my CyberSOC team. So a really, really powerful feature. So again, just with a few simple clicks, you can really secure your environment. Now, the other thing that we also have, as well as safe attachments, you can also set up safe links as well. So, of course, hacks normally come in through phishing attacks. A phishing attack is basically where the hacker is throwing out a net and just seeing what bites. Now, Microsoft have a really good default protection policy when it comes to safe links. But of course, you're quite within your right to go in and you can edit this and you can create your own safe links policy. And essentially what this does is any links that come in that appear in red, it would indicate that this is a known phishing link. But if your links are in yellow, it just means that they're being scanned. But definitely switch on both safe links and the safe attachments. It will save the day, trust me. So next I'm going to come into the Microsoft Entra Admin Center, either at entra.microsoft.com, or you can simply click into it via the Identity tab in your Microsoft Admin Portal. So in here, what I want to do is I'm going to click into my tenant here, and I'm going to click onto the properties. And as I click on, I'm going to just scroll right down to the bottom of the page, and you can see here that we have something called security defaults. And you can go ahead and click on the security defaults here. And what this does is it's disabled by default, but you can simply click on this and choose enable. And this prevents 99.9% of compromise. And what this does is enables multi-factor authentication on all of your users, and at the same time it sets up some default and at the same time, it also sets some default conditional access policies as well. Now, just a word of warning, if you already have these security features enabled, by switching this on, it will disable those features. So again, be very careful with this. Also, just one other point, you probably want to create yourself, once you've switched this on, create yourself another admin account, give it an ultra long password, and a name that obviously it doesn't say administrator, stick it in a box and disable multi-factor authentication from that account. We call this a break glass account, and just in case things go horribly wrong, you can easily recover. So that's the security defaults now available. Now, on the subject of Microsoft Entra, this is an absolutely must-have and a must-know for administrators. I'm going to come down into the Entra ID Admin Center. I'm going to come into the Protection tab, and I'm going to come into Conditional Access. Now, conditional access has been going through a number of changes recently, and this is super useful. So first of all, again, I can take a snapshot of the number of policies that I've got. I can see how many users I've got. You see I've only got 2 users at the moment, and it tells me how many devices and applications. But more than that, it tells me what the overall coverage is. So what's the percentage of my users that are protected in conditional access? Now, if you don't understand what conditional access is, think about it like this. In the old days, we simply had a username and password to log in. And the problem with that is it didn't prove who you were. So now what we have is we have this capability to create what we call a conditional access policy. Conditional access policy is a set of conditions. So imagine you're trying to access an app on your mobile device from a specific location, and you're a member of a particular group or team. Again, those are the conditions. So as long as you're in a trusted location on a trusted device, or that device has been updated and you're a trusted or authenticated user, then you'll have access to it. Now, conditional access is changing. So one of the things that's changing at Microsoft is the introduction of the new default policies. And these are called Microsoft Managed Policies, and it can tell you here, you can see that managed policies are currently being rolled out. So in the next couple of weeks, you're going to see some default conditional access policies that will require MFA. Now, again, be careful of this with those break glass accounts. You could run into problems with them. Now, you can see here that I've gone ahead and I've created a number of policies here. And you can either create the policy from scratch, or you can use a template. So again, very simply here, I can see I've created it. This is called the CPH Windows policy. I've selected my users, so you can go in. This is the first signal, of course. So you can either do it by user and group, certain directory roles, and again, these can either be guests or external admins. So for the purpose of this demo, I'm choosing the sales team, and I'm saying, okay, the sales team, I'm going to say select the particular app, and in this case, I've said I want to protect my users who are using, let's say, Microsoft 365. But check it out, this is also new. You can actually create conditional access policies for administrators, and not just the main admin portals, but also their sub portals and features as well. And pretty soon, you're going to be able to create conditional access policies for Copilot features as well. So that's my second signal for users using Microsoft 365, and they must then meet these conditions. And you can set the risk and the sign-in risk levels, and this is to do with identity protection. So for example, if you say, I want to make this available for my high or my medium and low risk users, and what's the riskiness of the user signing in remotely, and again I can choose medium and low risk users signing in remotely. You can also specify what device platforms they're coming in on, and as you can see, I've selected the Windows platform, but again you can add in multiple devices as well. You see what I mean by signals? So the user is a member of this group, signing in using this device or this location, and you can then assign that. So I'm going to say, yeah, coming in on Windows by location. You can even trust, let's say, trusted locations. You can store in the settings here. So if you want to go in and you can configure, for example, in conditional access, trusted locations. And these can be trusted either by GP coordinates or by IP address location. You can also select conditional access based on, as I said, device platforms as well as location, and you can specify how they're accessing the apps. So you can see here, I'm saying I'm going to allow both browser and mobile apps in, which is ultimately what you would do. Oh, actually, just bring myself back for that for a second. If I go back in, one thing that you'll notice here is I've not got older options here as well, so other clients. So this is something you might want to block because these clients don't support, for example, multi-factor authentication. Yes, I'm going to grant access, but it requires multi-factor authentication. And just to bring you up to date with something that's kind of cool, this is a new feature, and I can go in here and, for example, require what we call token protection for sign-ins, and this protects you against an adversary in the middle attack. Essentially, when you authenticate to a browser, when you go into a browser, the authentication comes in as a cookie or a token, and this prevents the cookie or the token from being replayed. So again, it's just an additional layer of really nice security. So again, I'm going to go ahead and accept that. Now what I can do is I've now configured my conditional access policy. I can put this in reporting only mode. And what this does is it learns your environment and learns about how you do things. And it basically stays on learning mode for about 90 days. After the 90 days, it then becomes live. All right, now I can come back in here. I can go into, let's say, I can come back into identity, and within identity, you could actually go in and have a look at, let's say, your logs, for example. So I could go into the identity logs, and I can look at my conditional access entries. And you can do that simply by clicking on Show More, and if I go into Monitoring Health, I can actually view those sign-in logs here. So not only does it show me who the user was, where they signed in from, what device they were using, and how they were authenticating, and if conditional access was hitting them in reporting only mode. So again, this is a great way of try before you buy. Reporting only mode only lasts for 90 days. But there you go, just a little bit of the basics of conditional access. Super powerful and super useful at keeping you secure. And do remember, you need a minimum of a P1 license, which is included in Business Premium and above. Now, if you're a company security person, then I'm sure you are familiar with Microsoft Defender, and I cannot stress how good this product actually is. The only criticism I have of this product is there's so much in it, it can be a little bit overwhelming. But just practice, just play with it. It's the best way to move forward. My final tool actually comes as a sequel to Safe Links and Safe Attachments. And I want to show you this. If you scroll right down to the bottom of the page, come into Settings here, and we have Email and Collaboration. This absolutely rocks. This is called user tags. So user tags work alongside things like priority accounts, and also you can have monitoring Teams protection as well, Microsoft Teams protection. So what this does is I can come in here and I can create different tags, you see, and I'll call this one, for example, management. I can put in a description here. If I click into next, I can then, of course, add this to various people within my organization. And let's say, for example, these two are my management team. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm now tagged these user accounts. And I'm going to click next, and you can see I've now got two members and they've got the tag management. And this can be used for reporting, it can be used for analyzing things like potential phishing attacks and so on. So now that I've tagged it, you can see we also have the priority accounts here. And the priority account is a feature that you can switch on. So it's off by default. So you can switch this on, and as you can see, it provides additional AI and machine learning capabilities. And what it does is it does a more detailed evaluation of any of that mail that goes into what we call that detonation chamber or that sandbox. So those attachments, for example, because often these phishing attacks are potentially targeted at, for example, CISOs or CEOs and so on, management teams and so on. So it just provides that little extra protection here. And again, you can manage your priority account users. So I can come in, and again, you can see I can create those tags here as well if I want to. Now, in addition, you can also do the same thing for Microsoft Teams as well. So, of course, teams are groups, groups are teams. So one of the things that you probably want to do is you probably want to label these accordingly as well. And it's definitely worth doing that. So here you can see that 0-hour auto purge, and what this essentially does is it catches, it's an early warning system, it catches any potential malware, and it pretty much makes sure that it doesn't go into your mailbox again. So you can see you can choose who can view this content. So you might, for example, have a dedicated mailbox for an analyst, let's say. But again, you can choose who you want to notify about these. Again, you can also exclude certain users, groups, and domains. So there you have it. That is a really powerful feature. And you can see it's kind of buried away, isn't it? Now, on the subject of priority users, just the last thing that I want to show you, if I go into the users and all users tag here, what the other thing that you can do for reporting reasons is I can come into, let's say, Alex's account. And here in Alex's account, actually I'll do this from Microsoft 365. So I'm going to come up to his account here. If I come into all users and go into Alex, you can see that in Alex's account, I can scroll down, and here we have something called priority monitoring. So priority monitoring allows me to click in here and enable priority monitoring for Alex, and I did this earlier. So now when I go into Alex's account, you can now see it says priority. So if you're producing any reports or any analysis, you can filter for priority users. And again, super useful in terms of. So there you have it, security settings that I hope will make a real difference to you. Hey, listen, if you enjoyed it, go ahead, give me a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And if you've got any questions from this session, as always, get those down below. Next week, I'm going to be speaking at the ESPC 23 conference, and I'm going to be delivering a couple of sessions there. Here's the website. And if you're going to be there, then definitely come and say hello. It would be great to meet you there live. All right, that's it for this time around. You stay safe. I'll see you soon. Take care. Hey, thanks so much for dropping by today. Here's a couple of videos that you may enjoy, and while you're here, go ahead, click on the subscribe button and you won't miss out.